In 1999, two psychologists at Cornell University ran a simple test. They gave a group of college students a series of logical reasoning and grammar problems, standard stuff. Nothing unusual, but then they did something interesting. After the test, they asked each student to estimate how well they performed compared to everyone else. The results were disturbing. The students who scored in the bottom 25%, the ones who got almost everything wrong, believed they had scored in the top 35%. They weren't lying. They genuinely believed they had done well. And the students who actually scored the highest? They underestimated themselves. They assumed everyone else had done just as well. This was the moment David Dunning and Dunning-Kruger accidentally discovered one of the most dangerous flaws in the human mind: the core discovery. The study was published under one of the greatest academic titles ever written. Unskilled and unaware of it, the central finding was this: the skills you need to be good at something are the exact same skills you need to recognize that you're bad at it. Read that again. If you lack the ability to write well, you also lack the ability to judge whether your writing is bad. If you don't understand logic, you can't recognize when your reasoning is flawed. Incompetence doesn't just cause bad performance. It hides itself from the person experiencing it. You don't know what you don't know, and that's not just uncomfortable. That's genuinely dangerous. The 4 stages. Dunning and Kruger's work gave rise to what is now called the Dunning-Kruger curve, a journey that every human being travels in almost every skill they ever attempt. It has 4 stages. Stage 1, the peak of Mount Stupid. You encounter something new, a subject, a skill, a field. You learn a little, just enough to feel like you understand the basics. And in that moment, confidence explodes. You've read 3 articles about investing. Suddenly you're giving financial advice. You've watched 1 political documentary. Suddenly you understand geopolitics. You've taken 1 psychology class. Suddenly you're diagnosing everyone around you. This is the peak, the highest point of confidence, built almost entirely on nothing. Stage 2, the valley of despair. Then reality arrives. You go deeper. You encounter complexity you didn't know existed. You meet people who actually know what they're doing. You realize the 3 articles you read don't even scratch the surface. Confidence collapses. Many people quit here. They decide the subject isn't for them, that they just aren't built for it. What they're actually experiencing is the first honest signal their brain has sent them. Stage 3, the slope of enlightenment. The people who push through the valley begin a slow, humbling climb. Knowledge increases. Confidence returns. But this time, it's built on something real. They know what they know. More importantly, they know what they don't know. Stage 4, the plateau of sustainability. True competence, real expertise, and almost universal humility. The most common trait among masters of any field is not arrogance. It is an acute awareness of how much still remains to be learned. Real-world examples. This curve shows up everywhere once you start looking for it. Often has the most radical ideas for how to fix everything. Someone who has been there 10 years understands why things are more complicated than they appear. And perhaps most visibly, social media. The loudest, most confident voices on almost every political and scientific topic online consistently demonstrate the least familiarity with the actual research. Meanwhile, the actual researchers speak in probabilities, qualifications, uncertainty. The less someone knows, the more certain they sound. The more someone knows, the more carefully they choose their words. New drivers are statistically the most confident drivers on the road. Experienced drivers with 20 years behind the wheel are far more cautious because they know exactly what can go wrong. Someone in their first month at a new job. Here is where this gets genuinely uncomfortable. This is not a video about other people. Dunning and Kruger's follow-up research confirmed that the effect does not discriminate by intelligence. High IQ individuals experience it. Educated professionals experience it. People who are fully aware of the Dunning-Kruger effect experience it in the areas just outside their expertise. Nobody is immune. In fact, Dunning himself has said that his own research has made him deeply suspicious of his own certainty about almost everything. Think about the areas in your life where you feel most confident: your political views, your understanding of health and nutrition, your judgment of other people's character. Now ask yourself, how deep does that knowledge actually go? How many times in your life have you been completely, utterly certain about something and been wrong? How to escape it? The good news is, the Dunning-Kruger effect is not a life sentence. Dunning and Kruger identified exactly what moves people through the curve faster. First, Actively seek out people who are better than you, not to feel bad about yourself, but because watching true competence is the fastest way to recalibrate your own self-assessment. Second, treat being wrong as information, not failure. Every mistake is the brain updating its map of reality. The people who improve fastest are the ones who are genuinely grateful when they're corrected. Third, ask for honest feedback constantly, not validation, feedback. There is a difference. Validation confirms what you already believe. Feedback tells you what you can't see. Fourth, assume the topic is more complex than it appears. Whatever subject you feel you've mastered, there is almost certainly a layer beneath it that you haven't reached yet. Socrates, widely considered one of the wisest humans who ever lived, built his entire philosophy on a single sentence. I know that I know nothing. Einstein kept a notepad beside his bed his entire life, convinced that his most important ideas still hadn't arrived yet. Richard Feynman, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century, was famous for saying that if you couldn't explain something to a 10-year-old, you didn't actually understand it yourself. The pattern is consistent across history. The wisest, most capable human beings who have ever lived shared one universal trait, a deep, genuine humility about the limits of their own knowledge. And the most dangerous people in every era of human history shared a different trait entirely, absolute certainty. So the next time you feel completely sure about something, pause. Not because you're wrong, maybe you're right, but because that feeling of total certainty is exactly when the Dunning-Kruger effect is most likely doing its quiet, invisible work. The smartest thing your brain can do is doubt itself. If this video made you question something you were certain about, that's exactly the point. Subscribe for more.